Gary in Florida. Gary, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Kudos to you, Alex. I love your documentaries.
Thank you.
Very informative. But besides uncovering the lies and the deception and the conning and conniving and all this, how can we go into action? Like, we need indictments against these people.
Well, first you got to take your states and your counties back, and when you do stand up against this mafia, a lot of times they'll kill you or set you up. So we need to get a lot of people angry and awake, all putting it on the line, so that there's too many targets, and we just basically take the moral high ground, expose these people to where the emperor has no clothes. I mean, like this royal wedding, the emperor has no clothes. They're a bunch of despots. They're inviting a bunch of dictators over. It's a celebration of evil and despotism, and it's the same thing there. We call it for what it is. Wayne.
Well, I think so, and I get back to the issue. During the Bush administration, we turned out 350,000 people at anti-war demonstrations in Washington, D.C. We had a recent one, a couple of hundred maybe. Because, you know, what's disappeared? Well, the Soros money doesn't go there anymore. You know, the establishment Democratic money doesn't go. And even back in those demonstrations, very few elected Democratic officials would even show up.
Well, those groups are all not just they're all funded by Ford. They're all funded by Soros. The money's there for them not to do anything.
Absolutely. And so we see the Democrats saying, well, as long as it's a Republican in the White House, we'll go out and protest. But the minute there's a Democrat who's doing the same exact thing, in some cases worse. I mean, Obama's got 3 official wars going on right now, where Bush had 2. And we don't know. Pakistan, covert...
They've been saying get the drones out.
Absolutely. So, you know, these are phonies. These Democrats are phonies. They call themselves progressives. Soros gives $1 million to Human Rights Watch. Human Rights Watch selects...
Yeah, they call Soros a communist, but it's keep your friends close, enemies closer. It's all about controlling the left. And the Republicans are about controlling the right.
And it's exactly what Rupert Murdoch does on the right-wing side of the house with the, you know, Fox News and all the other media that he owns.
For decades saying there's no world government.
Right.
When it was being built. Anything else, caller? All right, he dropped off. Deborah in Florida, or no, Deborah in California. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. I just want to thank you for waking me up 2 years ago. I've been a member ever since. God bless you and yours. And Wayne Madsen, I pray for your safe passage wherever you're going to go. I was born and raised in Chicago. My father was an iron worker there, usually ate his lunch about 80 stories above the city. And love to joke about the Levitt store. My question is this. In Sudan, that Sudan ordeal that happened in 83 to 205, where they had to run for their lives to Kenya. Is this what's happening in the Ivory Coast now? And how much is the CIA or Black Ops in the ordeal with France and everything?
Oh, it's admitted that the West is backing the rebels that murder thousands at a pop with machetes, and then they remove the one government and put in the murderers. It's just like Rwanda. In fact, you were part of that war crimes tribunal.
Right. In Rwanda, of course, Clinton was president at the time, and there was a double assassination. They shot down the airplane carrying the presidents of Rwanda and Burundi, both ethnic Hutus, and they're the dominant peoples in both countries. And it was the Central Intelligence Agency working with other groups in Rwanda that helped Kagame, the current president, our dictator in Rwanda, shoot that plane down. That triggered this huge civil war. We know that Kagame himself was murdering his own Tutsis to make it look like, oh, look what these evil people are doing. You know, you have to come to our assistance. Clinton was just benign in the whole thing, but the Defense Intelligence Agency was very active in Rwanda. Clinton says, well, we didn't know. He knew full well what was going on over there. By putting Kagame in, we got rid of Mobutu and Zaire, and then the Congo, 6 million dead since the first invasion from Rwanda of Congo in the mid-1990s. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And Ivory Coast, yes, just like Sudan, May 9th, we get the new Republic of South Sudan, independent country, majority Christian. Susan Rice, our ambassador to UN, Obama's ambassador to UN, has always hated the government of Sudan. She has been literally in bed with some of these rebel leaders in South Sudan. She has a visceral hatred for the Arab North. She is not a very good diplomat because all through Africa, they know that she is totally biased. And she's anything but a diplomat. Ivory Coast, you have the Alassane Ouattara, the rebel guy that took over, said he won the election, and he said no. He said he won the election. The incumbent said he didn't. We had a civil war. Alassane Ouattara's wife is a French citizen, very close to Sarkozy, very close to the diamond business. There are diamonds in Ivory Coast. And this is what it's all about.
Yeah, anybody tries to sell diamonds, they call it blood diamonds.
Blood diamonds.
The real blood diamonds are the ones sold through the Oppenheimer De Beers monopoly. But then they call all the other diamonds they don't control. In fact, tomorrow when you're on with us, let's spend part of the interview getting into Africa because you've been a witness before the U.S. House of Representatives, but also to the UN Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. And after the fact, from my research, it's confirmed that the UN actually help position some of the people to be massacred. Is that correct?
Well, the UN was in there with Belgian peacekeepers when the plane carrying the two presidents was shot down. Of course, many of those Belgians were killed in retaliation, but some of these Belgian peacekeepers were in proximity to where the Kagame forces, the rebel forces, were in a position to fire the shoulder-launched SAM missiles that took out the airplane. You know, the UN's never investigated that. It was an international act of terrorism. The French government investigated. I testified before the French terrorism judge on that issue. But the UN never, and the U.S. certainly doesn't, never investigated.
Why were you testifying on Africa? Why are you seen as an expert?
Well, I wrote a book some years ago called Genocide and Covert Operations in Africa, 93 to 99, which took in this whole issue with the shooting down of the aircraft. Years later, we found, they said that, well, they couldn't find the black box. The black box was found in a drawer at the UN headquarters in New York. It had already been looked at by the FAA and the NTSB, and we know what they do in these cases. They cover up. And it's quite clear that Africa is a playground for our nasty special ops people, the private mercenary companies. They've been in there for years, all kinds of. Blackwater is just one of them. There are many others, U.S., French, Belgian.
I saw De Beers in '99 in New Yorker magazine bragging, the World Diamond Monopoly Company, for those that don't know, that whenever a country tries to mine diamonds, they just send in mercs.
Oh, absolutely, because the whole diamond trade is based on, it's fairly recent. It was
artificial scarcity.
Absolutely, and you know, it's always a wedding ring, and you got to give a diamond wedding ring to somebody you're proposing to. This comes out of Marilyn Monroe, Breakfast at Tiffany's, and all. Hollywood created the mystique about diamonds.
Diamonds were only semi-precious till they were sold to people as another Edward Bernays fraud.
Absolutely, and now there's effectively a monopoly with the De Beers and the diamond cutters in Antwerp, Amsterdam, Tel Aviv, and increasingly we see some of that being outsourced to places like India and Bangkok, Thailand, because, you know, the diamond cutters in Europe charge too much in the way of salary. So we even see in their own industry them outsourcing to these various developing countries.
Totally unbelievable. Let's jam in a few more here. Tariq in Georgia, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yep, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Alex Jones? How you doing, Wayne?
Good. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I just want to give a couple of comments on Obama and why I believe they put him in office. I basically believe they put him in office to just give you a little background. I'm a 33-year-old African-American male. I was in the Navy for 4 years. I've been out for 4 years now, too. Honorable discharge. I believe they put him in office to basically shut black people up, because anytime you say something bad about them, it's like if you're white, you're a racist, and if you're black, you're a hater. So it's like that double-edged sword. And
no, I mean, it's a way to inject identity politics to further divide and conquer, and then give torture, war, and Wall Street looting left cover. Wayne Madsen.
Well, no, I agree, and I've spoken to many African Americans from Chicago and Washington, D.C., and they agree with the caller, Tariq from Georgia.
Are these fake polls that 93% of blacks like him?
Well, who are they polling? I think most of the polls are fake now. You know, it used to be that there were independent pollsters. Now look at the polling companies. They're affiliated with the ABC News, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. These are corporate media entities. So, of course, you know, it's how they ask the questions, who they ask the questions to. I don't believe the polls. The polls, I think the polls are totally...
Let me ask Tariq this. What amount of folks that you know who are African-American, what amount of them really like Obama?
Vast majority of them, especially the older ones, which, like, I have friends that are, like, close to 60, and they believe him, like, they'll follow him to their grave if need be.
Well, that's what, just like white people would follow George W. Bush to their grave. It's this identity politics. These guys are just puppets. Tariq, great point. Sorry to Ron, Mike, Tim, and others. We'll be back live tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, and Wayne will be back in studio. Great job to the crew. Great job to Genesis. God bless you all. Our transmission starts now. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.